Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Joey and today I'm going to be talking a bit about interview makeup. I know a lot of people probably have interviews coming up, especially if you're a fresh graduate and you're looking for jobs, so you probably go through a lot of interviews, or even for college applications or uni applications. And in this video I'll be sharing some tips and tricks on how I perfected the ideal interview makeup. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start with a primer. I'm going to be using this Blur primer and it's no sebum, so you can control the oil throughout the day. It's always good to have a primer on hand when you go to interviews and stuff because you want your makeup to last much longer. So a primer is a good way to make your makeup last longer. Just gonna apply it on my inner cheek and around the nose, a bit on the forehead. Usually the areas where you're going to sweat the most, that's where I'm going to apply it. And you can see it instantly took away the shine as well. And next up I'm going to be using foundation. Here I have the Fenty Beauty one. Today I'm going to be talking about products that are usually a bit more affordable or could be brought in drugstore, because I know a lot of people who are going for interviews now are probably college students or you're just fresh grad, so you're probably looking for something cheaper. And I know Fenty Beauty is not really a cheap brand, but for foundation you definitely want something that is a bit more mid-range or high-end because your skin is going to be covered in it and you don't want something that's really cheap and it's going to ruin your skin. So I'm recommending getting something that's a bit more higher end or like better quality. And I really love this Fenty Beauty one because it lasts all day and the colour ranges are huge, which is great for different skin tones. And I'm just gonna put some on my hand and then apply it onto my face. Here I'm using the Real Techniques one. I'm just gonna blend that all out. Make sure you find a foundation that matches your skin tone as well, because you don't want to go into an interview with like two different shades, and that's not gonna give you a good impression for your interviewer. And I know that like some Asian might actually prefer to use a foundation that is a shade lighter just to make the skin a bit brighter and more pale, but I personally don't recommend that because you don't want your foundation to be seen. You don't want to go into an interview with your face looking like you have a lot of makeup on, so it's best to pick a foundation that is your skin tone. That way it'll make it much more natural. Just put a bit more foundation on areas where you need it, but don't make your foundation layer too heavy, because heavier foundation just means that it's more obvious and you'll probably go in with a concealer later on to cover any imperfections, so leave your foundation light if you can. And next up I'm going to be using the MAC Prep and Prime Fix Plus. This step is optional, but I want my makeup to last as long as possible, so I'm going to go in with this spray to act as like a primer, like extra primer before I put on any powder products. Just gonna let that dry. Now I'm going to move on to my brows. I always start with brushing them out first, just so all the hairs are not in the wrong position. And then I'm going in with this Benefit brow pomade. I'm going to be using a brow pomade instead today because brow pomade tends to last longer, and this one, although Benefit is not really a cheap brand, but this travel size one is only around like £8, so it's pretty affordable. And with this, you literally won't lose your tail off the brow throughout the whole day. It literally lasts very long, even through like sweat and heat. It also comes with a brush at the back as well, so you can just use this, and super convenient to take it with you in case you need a little bit of a touch-up. I always start at the base first because I want to shape the brows. And with interview I won't recommend you doing a brow shape that is too arched because that will make you look a bit angrier. So I always recommend something more straight and maybe with just a little arc, or you can just go fully straight if you want to. If you make a mistake, don't worry, just get it off with a Q-tip. I like to use the ones that are pointier because they're more precise. A Q-tip is really good at shaping the end of the brow as well to make it even sharper line. And if you rubbed off the foundation, you can just go in with a concealer later on to blend it all together again. When you're done with the shape and you want the front to look a bit more natural and sparse, just go in with like a brush like this. Just gently blend it out. See the difference? Okay, now that the brows are done, I'm going to move on to my eyes. I'm going to start by applying a primer. I'm using this MAC one, but if you have a primer that you normally like, then go for it. I know that this MAC one is not very cheap, but this little tube lasts forever. This is a really good primer as well because it literally enhances the eyeshadow colours as well as making it stay much longer. I just need a little bit and then you apply it onto your eyes. And then onto eyeshadow, I'll be using this NYX Ultimate eyeshadow palette. This is a very affordable option, and for those who don't really want to spend too much money, this is good. And because the powder in this palette is not too pigmented, I'll advise some beginners to try this instead of getting those really pigmented Western eyeshadow palettes. And I'm going to go in with this shade as a transition first. Just getting a normal eyeshadow brush and then brushing it all over my lids. Having a transition shade will help everything else blend in much more easily. When you're going for an interview, I won't really recommend you to go with any eyeshadows that are too bold or too striking because you want to create a good impression, right? And a very bold, colourful eyeshadow might actually put the interviewer off. So this is why I go for a nude palette. After applying the transition shade, I'm going to go in with this darker brown colour to put it on the outer crease of my lids. Tap off the excess and then focus it on the outer crease. And then some on the inner crease as well. Inner corner. You want to leave the middle empty because we're going to be adding some shimmers onto it later on. Something to just make the eyes pop a little bit more. And then do the same on the other eye. As you can see, the pigment is not very intense. That's why it's good for beginners because you can have more leeway with it. Another tip is try out your makeup first before the morning that you had to go in for your interview because you want to know what it looks like and it will make your whole process on the day much quicker as well. And make sure you're not going to try anything new that you haven't done before as well because on the day you don't want it to mess up and ruin your whole makeup. I'm going to apply some lip balm on my lips because it's feeling dry, but ideally I would have done it at the beginning of the makeup. In terms of the shimmers for my eyes, a little tip here is to use the highlighter that you're going to use later on. I'm using this one and I'm just going to be putting it in the middle of the crease and then blending it out just to add a bit more shine. It's going to be very subtle, but it will help your eyes pop a little more and make you look a bit more awake. And here I'm using the Nip and Fab palette, and this is actually the contour palette, but they do have a shimmer shade that's for highlighting. Then I'm going to grab a smaller eyeshadow brush and apply the same colour as you use for the crease onto your lower lash line, just to combine everything together, make it look more seamless. And you can put some on your lash line too. I think I want a little bit more pigment on my crease, so I'm just going to go in with a bit more product. One thing about cheaper eyeshadow palettes is that they're not as buttery as higher end ones, so I find that they don't have as much pigment and the blending takes a little bit longer. As you can see, the brown has enhanced my crease line a bit more, so it makes my double eyelid a bit stronger. Next up, I'm going to be curling my eyelashes. I'm going to be curling my bottom eyelashes too. I actually learned this trick from Pony and it really helps open up the eyes when you put mascara on. I'm not going to be using any eyelashes today, but if you were to use eyelashes, I'll recommend something more natural, like these. You can see there's like more crisscross and they're not as dense as normal eyelashes are. So after curling my eyelashes, I'm just going to be applying mascara. Here I'm using my trusty Heroin Make one. Make sure you pick out a good mascara on the day because you want your lashes to stay on really well, and even though the waterproof ones are much harder to remove, I still recommend you to use one because you don't know how long you're going to be there for, so you want your lashes to stay put the whole day. And waterproof formulas tends to last longer. Don't forget your bottom lashes as well. So that's mascara done. I'm going to be tightlining my eyes with this BBia or BBIA eyeliner. This eyeliner is really nice. It glides on really well, so it's really cheap as well. It's a Korean brand and I have it in number L1 Miss Classic. This is a very classic brown. You'll want to opt for a brown eyeliner or a dark brown eyeliner because you want the look to look more friendly and natural, and usually black eyeliner gives you more of an intense, bold look. You can leave it like this if you want, but I'm going to go in with a liquid eyeliner and I'm using this K Palette One Day Tattoo eyeliner. So I'm just going to give myself a little wing to define it a little bit more. I usually like drawing out the corners, the wing first. You'll want to pick a long-lasting eyeliner just in case it smudges, and make sure you pack it with you in your bag as well. If you want something that's a bit more mid-range, I'll highly recommend you to use this Flow Free Sheet one, Monty liner. This eyeliner can actually last all day long without being smudged, and you can actually create a very thin line very easily as well. I tend to do my mascara before I do my eyeliner because I realise that if I've already done my eyeliner and I go in to curl my lashes, the eyeliner tends to get on my eyelash curler, so this is why I do my mascara first. So that's my eyeliner done. And this is when you're going to go in with a concealer, just to clean up all the fallouts from the eyeshadows. Just going to do a tiny bit. Just going to go in with the sponge again and use the pointy end to blend it out. And if you want to fix up the foundation around your eyebrows, you can do it now as well. After concealer, I'm going to go in with a powder. I'm using this INNISFREE one here. Make sure you apply a bit more powder than usual because you're probably going to sweat from the nerves and you're going to get hot, so your face is going to get oilier than usual. And make sure you apply it on areas where you know you're going to get a bit more oily, like nose, forehead and chin. After that, I'm going to go in with a contour. I'm using this Apu one. Make sure you pick a contour that you know matches your skin because you don't want anything too dark, you don't want anything too pink. And this is one that I really like because it's really natural looking. I usually mix both of these colours together to create a very nice tone on my skin. Contour is definitely something that you should test out beforehand as well, just so you know what works for you and what doesn't. Tap off the excess and I put it here to contour, to make my cheekbone pop a little bit more, and then my jawline to make my face look a bit slimmer. And I make sure I have some on my forehead too, to slim the face and make my forehead a little smaller. It usually goes from like here to here, like a 3 on your face. I like using an angled brush for it, and this is actually made of real hair, so it grabs onto the powder better. You don't want to go too heavy-handed on it, so just make sure you have something on but not too obvious. You're probably thinking that I'm going to apply blush next, but I'm not going to apply any blush today because I know when I get nervous, the natural colour of my cheeks, the redness will show through, so I don't want any blush to make my face even more red and make me look even more nervous. So I'm just going to go straight into the highlighter. I'll be using the same highlighter as I recommended before, which is the one from the contour palette in Nib and Fab, and it's this one here. It's the only shimmery shade in this palette, so I'll be using this. And I chose this highlight because it has a bit more red shimmers in it, so it can act as a blush as well. Gonna grab my highlighting brush. You don't want to pick a blush that's too obvious or has really big shimmer particles in it, because you want it to look more natural, look like you're glowing from within. So you want something that's more fine and sheer. Applying that to my cheekbones to pop it. To make it pop. You can see it really helps it pop, but it's not obvious. And some on my eyebrows to show a bit more dimension, so it's not so 2D. I'm gonna grab some for my nose too. And because I want a bit more shimmer in the nose bridge, since I don't really have a nose bridge, I'm gonna apply it with my fingers to get a bit more intensity. Now the last thing is lips. I'm gonna remove my lip balm with a Q-tip first. Applying a lip balm before your lipstick will help moisturize your lips for a more even finish, and it will also help it last a bit longer as well. But don't leave your lip balm on before applying your lipstick, otherwise your lipstick will glide and it won't look as nice, and it doesn't really stay on as well. Today I'll be using this NYX Professional matte lipstick called Eurotrash. This is actually a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury's one, and the good thing about this is it's only around £3, whereas the Charlotte Tilbury one is like 20, so, and the colours are really similar too. But obviously this is not as buttery as the Charlotte Tilbury one. For your interview, I recommend you to pick a nude shade lipsticks instead, because you'll look friendlier and it won't be as bold and intimidating. If you are someone who likes red lipsticks and wears it a lot and it's basically like your personality, then I think you can go for it. But if you're someone who doesn't really use red lipsticks, then I think you should avoid it and just go with something that's more safe. In terms of dark lipsticks, I definitely don't recommend it because you'll look too scary and intimidating to some people. You never really know what your interview is like, so you want them to like you, and playing safe is definitely the way. Last but not least, I'm gonna spray this whole makeup with a fixer so it can last much longer. I like to use this Urban Decay one because I know this can help it last really long, but because of the price, it's not that cheap. A good alternative is the NYX Professional. I have the dewy one here, but they do have a matte version which is more suitable, and if you want something that's more budget, then I'll recommend this. So I'll be using the Urban Decay one today. Just make sure you get all the parts of your face, and spraying on a fixer will help you get rid of the powdery finish of the powder as well to make it look more natural. So that's it. I hope you liked it, and I wish you the best of luck for your interview. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe below. See you in your next video. Bye!